So I've been asked to do this presentation on leadership and leadership styles. I'll be drawing upon my own experiences as well as looking at other people's theories of leadership. Okay, that's my personal definition of leadership. It reads, a person who occupies the position of power that guides a person and or group in decision making to a reasonable degree. I've used that as my definition because I don't think that they always have to be making all the decisions. So that's why I've said to a reasonable degree. And it is a guide. They are guiding the group. They're clearly in charge. That's having the position of power. So my experience, we did a module which was SHU 5001, which was a module designed to teach us about leadership. And they did that through, we had set up days to lead our peers on days out. So I organised to go kayaking on the River Coffee due to the ability group and water levels and strainers. It was advised strongly that I didn't go to the Coffee and pick a different river. So because of this, I kind of had to throw a day together semi-last minute. So I changed to do the Ty-V. Unfortunately, I'd failed to book a driver or the facilitator who works at Clandestinal. That was mainly through communication with the last leader, that we just didn't have any. So I hadn't learned from their mistakes, but that happens. After we got there, I became aware that there was actually a fishing contest on the section of river that I wanted to use. That was down to my poor preparation and planning then. Luckily, we were able to do a lower section of the river, and we still had a good day kayaking. My seconds there, who were teaching different styles of leading, one of them used the cult leadership method and the other used the Adares. Unfortunately, we hadn't done that much in the way of leadership, so they kind of reverted back into their default leadership styles, which became quite apparent very quickly. And as the leader, I should have kind of put my foot down and said, you need to be leading like this, but I didn't, so that's something I'm certainly going to have to work on in the future. There's also personal recreation. I mean, even when we go out kayaking or just climbing with a group of friends, there's always a clear leader, and they'll be sorting out the logistics. They'll be in charge on the river or on the crag, and it's just a clear leader emerges most of the time. I found the laissez-faire, the leadership style, works the best with experienced groups of people. That's because they have a good idea of what they're doing. They can recognise the goals and tasks, and therefore they can recognise how they need to be fulfilled and achieve them. Okay, so I'm only going to talk about the cult leadership model. So the cult leadership model is the conditional outdoor leadership theory. The cult model includes leadership style, the task, the group relationships, and environmental factors. Essentially, it's a completely dynamic model, and therefore the leader must be too. A couple of positives of the cult model is that it's very, very dynamic. It's completely interchangeable into any situation that you come into. That could be argued a positive, could be argued a negative. Is that then becomes very reliant on the leader, on how they make their decisions and how they lead. So for example, if the leader makes a poor decision, it's going to have a negative effect on perhaps the group relationships or the individual relationships, and then that's going to put the group into a bad state of mind. And if the leader doesn't recognise this and continues to make decisions like that, it's just going to spiral into a bad environment for everyone to learn, and therefore the task may not even be achieved. It also depends, what kind of goals and aims have been set for the day. If it's more about building group relationships, or if it's about achieving the task, the leader needs to be aware of what is required of him for that day. We're going to talk about John Adair's action-centered leadership. As you can see, you've got the three circles here. This area in the middle represents where all of the circles are balanced. Again, this is a very, very leader-dependent model. Again, it can be a good thing or a bad thing. It really depends on how they react to their situations. Again, it's a really, really dynamic model, as they can shift the focus from the task or the team or the individuals depending on what the outcomes are for the day. For example, if everyone's really hungry and complaining that they want to stop and have a break, to achieve the task, they may have to stop so that they can increase the size of the team circle, so that they get back into that balance section where the goals are again achievable. Okay, so I think those two leadership styles suit me very well, because they're both really dynamic and have the ability to change situationally at the leader's discretion. I think these two models are very similar, although the cult model includes more variables, which is a strength. It can be a weakness as well, depending on the leader and their interpretations of those things. So those kind of four bubbles there collaborate together, and they give you my theory of leadership. I think that the model use has to be highly adaptable. I think that decision making by the leader has to be really decisive. The group needs certainly need to be met. The individual needs to be met, and there needs to be a real balance between all of those things. Because if one's outweighing the other, it's going to have a detrimental effect to the task, or the group or the individual, depending on where those needs are placed. But overall, for a really dynamic leadership, which I think is the best way to lead, is you have to have a really good leader. Because if you don't have a good leader, the interpretation is all going to be wrong. It's just going to put a really bad shift on everything, and it's just not going to work well for that group. So that's kind of my summary of how I think the leadership theory is. So that's samsloper50011101219. Okay, so if you've got any questions or comments about the video, if you leave them in the comment section below, and I'll respond to them as soon as I can do. Alright, cheers guys, thank you.